Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to the guy who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there? Every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. That's what we do here on the Speak On It show. Let's get these formalities out there. rwcoolins.com, RW Coolins over all social media platforms. Go there, share, like, subscribe, do what you do when you do what you do. Follow, share the videos, share the comments, chime in, do what we do. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, no matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. Say what you mean what you say. That's all we ask here on the Speak On the Show. Call in, or if you chime in on here, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's go through these things that we do here every Saturday morning. Brian Hoodie, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you. James Battle, good morning and happy indictment weekend to you. We're going to get into that. Happy indictment weekend. I ain't never heard it said like that, but we're going to roll with the punches. It's an unscripted Saturday, y'all. It's an unscripted Saturday, and we're going to get into some conversations about what is in the headlines and we've been talking about for a while. But what I want to do first before we go there is go here. Last week I did my show, and it was Straight Talk, No Chaser. And later on in the show, I did a segment on the unfortunate passing of a young lady named Jackie O. Off of Wild and Out, fiance, baby, I don't want to say baby, the mother of the children of DC Young Fly, one of the comedians on there and everything. Terrence Collins, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. And I did the show, and we got to talking about her untimely death when she went to do a baby makeover. And I got a phone call from someone, not gonna put the names out there, but it was relayed through them to tell me that I've never had a baby, so I would not know anything about having a baby when I talk about it. And what I mentioned in there, and I went back and listened to what I said, and what I mentioned in there was the fact that if women, when you have a baby, your body will be forever changed. I may not have used that, but it was in that sense of your body will change and it will be different. And some people took offense to that. I didn't mean no harm in that. I didn't mean anybody to think that I was saying that I had a baby. I understand what a baby is about, having a baby, how it affects you. Or anything. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying in context of that is the fact that anytime something is done to your body differently than what your body is designed for, and we know women's bodies are designed to have children. Let's be real. but your body is going to be changed. It's going to alter the functioning of your body. Case in point, well, no, I'm not going to go down that road because I don't want to open up another Pandora's box. All I'm going to say is this. When I make my comments on this show and I talk about things, I'm not, and I'll say it again like I always said. I always tell you, I am not the end all to be all. I'm not an expert on all the things that I may talk about. However, my opinion is my opinion, and I've been through 2 childbirths. I didn't deliver them, but I've seen them delivered. And I'll just say this from a male point of view. You don't think that body's ever going to be the same when you see a child being birthed from a woman. It's just me. Take it how you want to take it. But for those people that had those comments, I appreciate the comments. Don't get me wrong. But you also have an opportunity to chime in when the show is going on. You have an opportunity to call in when the show is going on. I'm open to all conversation and in any way, good, bad, or ugly. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I appreciate the comments. And like I said, I'm not going to apologize for what I said, but I will give clarification on what I meant by what I said if it was taken out of context. And that was from my point of view, whether I've had a baby or not, if you have a child or if you have a surgery, you have anything done to your body, things will change and they will never be the same. I was just going to put that out there, clear that up. No harm, no foul. These things happen. These things go on. This is what the show is about. Let's talk about it. Let's put it out on the table and let's just have a discussion about it. But let's get into this. James Battle, my brother, indicted, 37 counts. Before we get into this, let me say this too. As we all know, Donald Trump was indicted yesterday on 37 counts for the documents that he had, that he possessed, that he kept, that he lied about, so on and so forth. But what I want to say first, before I even get into this and talk about this, and I know there's a lot of people that look at this as, about time. There's a lot of people that say, finally, all the different things you can think about. But what I would do is say this, and some will agree, some won't, which is what this show is all about. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. It's a joyous day for some, sad day for others. But when you look at it in the big scope of things, it's a sad day because now, with this being done, not the fact of him being charged, but the fact of the trust of other countries with the United States of America, as far as what they can share, what they will share, and what they choose to share going forward, is going to change. Things are going to be different as far as our relations because one person decided that he wanted to be, quote unquote, above the law and do things the way he wanted them to do. And I'm going to say this in the beginning. You'll hear me say it later on too. He felt empowered to do what he did, not only for the full time that he was in office, but with these documents when he left office, because those who support him and continue to support him to this day, with all the corruption we may know, with all the cases that are going on in the courts and everything, he feels emboldened and empowered that he can do anything he wants to do. And he said it to you when he first decided to run for president of the United States, when he said, and I quote, "I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue." That might be paraphrasing. And they will still vote for me. Nothing will happen to me. This is where we're at with this individual. Let that marinate for a minute. This is where we're at with this individual. So, 37 counts. Now, I watched a few different channels to hear what they were talking about as far as how they think it would come out. One of the biggest concerns right now is Judge Eileen Cannon, I think her name is, the judge that he appointed to the bench, is the one that's going to be overseeing this trial. So they're saying that she may do things to prolong it. She may do things to interfere with the DOJ, all these different things. I've told you guys many times before, and I'll say it again. Be aware of these judges that are running for office, that are going in unopposed or being put in these positions, because sometimes what you find out, these judges that get put in these positions for life terms have a certain amount of loyalty to the person that put them in there. And in this case, this is what we're going to find out, because if you remember when this document case first started, and she threw some curveballs in there to try to hold up what was going on, and then she was overruled, by a district court panel of judges who said, no, you shouldn't be interfering in that. And they kind of slapped her hand and she pulled back a little bit. But here we are. Here we are. Again, same judge, same thing. Brown Hoodie, the sad day is not that a former president was indicted, but there was enough evidence to indict a former president. Couldn't have said it better myself. And that's the easiest and best way to put it. And the other part of that is, if you sit back and watch, if you sit back and think about what we've seen during the 4 years when he was in office, the way he treated the other countries when he went to visits, pushing people out the way for photo ops and all these type of things, rubbing shoulders with the Kim Jong-uns, supporting anything that Vladimir Putin did, all these different things, then you had to get into the point of asking yourself, should we be surprised at what happened after the fact of when he left office? James Battle, it is sad. To me, the saddest thing is that a large portion of our populace are okay with what he did. Many of them are elected officials. That's really dangerous for America. Exactly. And that's where my issue comes in, is that let's go to it like this. Not only the politicians that we elected into office, some of us voted for them, but there are elected officials who are there to do and legislate for the masses of the people. And they are there to yesterday and today and going forward, and even in the past when it was identified where he was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing, that stay in the trenches to support him in spite of the fact that they know it's wrong. You have people that I've heard people on some interviews saying, even though he's been indicted, I will still vote for him for president of the United States. Are you serious right now? That's where people's mindsets are. And then you have to ask yourself, because we talk about this all the time, when we talk about the United States of America and our faults, our good points, and things like this, you have to ask yourself, when did we get to the point where we are comfortable, and let me just say it this way, when we are comfortable of electing or putting someone back into a position who has done corrupt actions throughout the presidency and after and leading up to, and they are all coming to a head right now with all these different court cases, and you still have people to say, I will still vote him in, or still vote for him to be president of this United States in spite of. What does that say about us as a country? What does that say about our integrity? Because see, here's the thing we talk about is integrity. And it's one of the things that I always base things on is integrity. Where is the integrity, not only with the person that did the crime, but those who support the person that committed the crime and are okay with it? Where does that put us? Where have we gone to where we're at this point? The classified documents Trump stored in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the United States military, and human resources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods. Now, this is straight from the indictment papers that I printed out. He had documents that said all things dealing with our defense, in the defense of other countries, resources that are used to get this information for us to be able to defend us or other countries, our allies, and so on and so forth. He had these documents, mind you, not stored correctly, but at the same time, he was unauthorized to have these documents. And that argument that, well, he was president and he had the right to declassify them, and there was he declassified them by his mind, just saying, okay, these are declassified. Let that go. There is no process on this in this world. Let's just be here that you can just in your mind think that it's okay to do, and that makes it right. Unless it's a decision dealing with you and only you. But there's still actions that have to be done with that. There's a process. And let me clear this up real quick, because I think this is where a lot of people don't want to hear, but they need to hear. These charges are not simply for him having the documents. They're not simply for him having the documents. Let's clear that up. Like, and everybody that's defending Donald Trump wants to throw out there, what about Mike Pence and his documents? What about Joe Biden and his documents? What about other presidents and their documents? This has nothing to do in the full scope of him having the documents. What it has to do with is the fact that they asked for the documents. He didn't want to turn over the documents. He piecemealed giving the documents back. He told lies about whether he still had the documents. And then he conspired with someone else to hide the documents when they came searching for the documents, as well as hid them from one of his lawyers, who was writing an affidavit that said, we've done a thorough search and no more documents have been found. These are all things that not the initial part of him having the documents, but the attempt to cover up the fact of that he still had the documents. Let's be clear on that. Everybody gets in this thing. Well, what about Pence? What about Trump? What about Biden? What about Obama? What about all the other presidents? None of these other presidents went to the point that we know of hiding, lying, conspiring to keep documents that he knew. Let's get this straight now. That he knew he was not supposed to have. So all you people out there, all your friends that are talking this stuff, break it down for him in simple terms. This ain't about him having documents. It's about him lying about where the documents were, what he was doing with the documents, that they still had the documents. Conspiracy to cause deception. And I'm going to get into the 37 counts in a minute. But I digress. Let's get back to this. So as I mentioned, the classified documents, it contain all kind of information to deal with the security of the United States of America and its allies, right? Some of these documents belong to the CIA, which is responsible for providing intelligence on foreign countries and global issues to the president and other policymakers to help them make national security decisions. The DoD, Department of Defense, which is the military, was in those documents. DoD is responsible for providing the military forces needed to deter war and ensure national security. Some of the executive branch agencies comprising the USIC were within DoD. James Battle, and not to mention the danger he puts those that collect this intelligence in. People would die over this and have died. We just don't know about it yet. You make a good point, and have died because he is showing people documents that he's not even supposed to have, that nobody is supposed to see other than people with those clearances and a need to know. That's one of the things they always told us when I was active duty. You only have to see what you have a need to know to see. That's simple. The National Security Agency, NSA, National Security Agency, was a combat support agency within DoD and a member of the USIC responsible for foreign signals, intelligence, and cybersecurity. This included collecting, processing, and disseminating to United States policymakers and military leaders foreign intelligence derived from communications and information systems, protecting national security systems, and enabling computer network operations. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGIA. It's a combat support agency within DoD responsible for the exploitation and analysis of imagery intelligence, and geospatial information in support of the national security objectives of the United States and the geospatial intelligence requirements of DoD, the Department of State, and other federal agencies. The National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, an agency within DoD responsible for developing, acquiring, launching, and operating space-based surveillance and reconnaissance systems that collected and delivered intelligence to enhance national security. Department of Energy, responsible for maintaining a safe, secure, and effective nuclear deterrent. Let me say that again. Maintaining a safe, secure, and effective nuclear deterrent to protect national security, including ensuring the effectiveness of the United States nuclear weapons stockpile without nuclear explosive testing. And the Department of State and Bureau of Intelligence and Research, responsible for protecting and promoting United States security, prosperity, and democratic values. Within the Department of State, the Bureau of Intelligence and Research was a member of the USIC and responsible for providing intelligence to inform diplomacy and support United States diplomats. Now, all these agencies that I counted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you notice, in each one of these that I read, it's about security, national security of the United States and its allies and its resources and its, the way they go about collecting the data and so on and so forth. And in these documents that they found, they all belonged to these organizations for the national security of the United States of America and its allies. And people are okay with him having this. I wonder, excuse me, I wonder to myself out loud right now, what causes people to overlook the fact that the danger that not only having these documents presents to the security of the United States, but all the military members around the world that everyone so-called says they support our troops and all the different things you hear about active duty military members serving. Oh, support the troops, support the troops. You're not supporting the troops if you support this. If you can come to bat and say that what Donald Trump did with these documents is not a big deal, then you just told every serving military member, national security advisor, national security people, the people that secure the nation as far as what they do, that you don't give a damn about them. You're more concerned about him being in power and being able to impose his will than you are the safety and security of all the people that do the job to keep us safe and secure every single day. And here's the thing that I think is overlooked as well with these documents. They're saying that they were stored in the bathroom, and there's pictures all over there. You can find them. There's pictures stored in the bathroom by a shower. There's one box was tipped over where they seen documents laying on the ground. There's the documents in one of the ballrooms lined up on a stage. They got all these different boxes, and no one knows what's in these boxes until you start digging in the boxes. Okay, fine with that. But how hard is it for someone to see one of these documents? They don't have to take the document. All they have to do is take a picture of the document, make a copy of the document, pass that information on from one person to one person to one person. And then we don't know how many documents he actually showed to people, because we only have the confession of one person that said that he showed them a document, told him what it was and how top secret it was, and he shouldn't be showing him this, but he showed it to him anyway and told him don't look too long and don't look too hard and all these different things. It's all in the charging documents. I'm not making this up. It's all in the charging documents, exactly what he was doing, what they were told he did by certain people within the realms of him showing the documents, But we still have people that will defend him and his actions. Why? If you know anyone that is in DOD, that's responsible for national security, that is works at an embassy overseas, any of those things, it's a gamut of those things. Government contractors overseas, stateside, they're all the compromise of this information with us not knowing exactly who's seen it, what they did find compared to what they should have found, because there could be documents missing, we don't know. But with all these things being put into place that we have these questions about, he has put every one of those people in harm's way. Everyone. Because he doesn't even know the extent of the documents that he had stored. He doesn't know the information that's on each one of those documents that he had stored until he decides to go and look at them and then flash them around to somebody because he wants to show, look what I got because I was president. No, look what you got that you shouldn't have, in spite of the fact that you're a former president. Let's just be real about this. But people are coming to his defense. Oh, he did nothing wrong. It's a witch hunt. Really? And what bothers me as well is all those who supported him through all the things he was doing when he was president, that are now that they have an opportunity to run for president against him, now he's the worst person to ever serve in that position in their eyes. But they supported him. They were enablers. And now they want you and me to elect them to that same position. Wow. Let that marinate too. So here's the charges. Let's just break these down, then we're gonna move on from this. But 37 counts. Counts 1 through 31, willful retention of national defense information. Willful retention of national defense information. See, this is saying that it's not that it was by accident that these documents were in boxes. Willful retention, because in spite of the fact that he knew they were there, he didn't want to give them up. That's 1 through 31. Those are what the charges are, from 1 to 31, those counts. And maximum term for imprisonment, 10 years. Mandatory minimum term of imprisonment, if applicable, not applicable. Maximum supervised release, 3 years. Maximum fine, $250,000. So he could be facing up to 10 years on 1 through 31. And I want to say that's each count. Each count holds 10 years. And they broke it down by each document that he had, 1 through 31, what those documents were. Count 32, conspiracy to obstruct justice. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. This is when he had somebody moving documents and tell them that we didn't have them, we don't hold them, we don't have them anymore, or you can get rid of them or whatever, act like we ain't got them, burn them, do what you got to do. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. Count 32. That holds a 20-year maximum sentence. 20 years. Count 33, withholding a document or record. Withholding a document or record goes along with that one. I don't have all the documents, but I'm just breaking it down to you to what they say. Count 34, corruptly concealing a document or record. Corruptly concealing a document or record. Again, holds a maximum sentence of 20 years. Count 35, concealing a document in a federal investigation. Concealing a document in a federal investigation. It means when he's, he knew they were trying to investigate this stuff, and he still kept these documents that he wasn't supposed to have, in spite of saying that they didn't have them anymore. 20 years maximum. Count 36, scheme to conceal. Scheme to conceal. Now, so it's not the crime, it's what you try to do to cover up the crime. Scheme to conceal. Another, that's only 5 years maximum. Count 37, false statements and representations. False statements and representations. Maximum term of imprisonment, 5 years. Now, I've heard the pundits, and I've heard different people talking on these things about this indictment. And a lot of them don't think that he will be charged with all of these. But the one that they're really concerned about is the conspiracy. The conspiracy to obstruct justice. Because Donald Trump, as he always does, when he does these type things, had an accomplice. And whether this guy was an unwilling accomplishment or unknowing what was going on or whatever, his name is Waltine Nauta. And he was a Navy, active duty Navy, and he's a valet. They call him a valet. And he was the one that he had moving the boxes around and hiding different boxes. And when investigators were coming and all this stuff, he's been charged with count 32 as well, conspiracy to obstruct justice, 20 years. Count 33, withholding a document of record, which holds 20 years. Count 34, corruptly concealing a document of record, maximum 20 years. Count 35, concealing a document in a federal investigation, 20 years. They also got him with scheme to conceal, which is 5 years. And then false statements and representations, count number 38. That's one of them that he was charged with by himself. Count 38, false statements and representations, 5 years. What this guy did, when they interviewed him, when the DOJ, Department of Justice, when the investigators interviewed him the first time, he said he didn't know about any of the boxes. He didn't know about anybody moving the boxes, and he didn't know about the documents. He didn't know anything, basically. But the next time around, he tried to tell him what was what. Yeah, I moved him from here, but he lied. Just be real, he lied. Now he's going to be sentenced. Now there's a lot of people saying, well, they better hope that he doesn't decide to do a plea deal and flip. All they got to do is give him some Popeye's chicken and an orange soda, pull him in the room, start interrogating him again. He might flip. Who knows? Who knows? It's not a laughing matter, but it's real. We see it on the first 48 many times. But these charges are not laughable. These charges, as simple as they sound, over documents. A lot of people say, oh, it's just documents. As I mentioned, and as James Battle mentioned, there's a lot of people whose lives are being in danger right now because these documents are floating around. Now, we don't know, per se, if anybody's seen the documents, anybody got hands on the documents. We don't know for sure, but that's the part. We don't know. That's the part, is we don't know. So now force protection levels have to be risen, because now that we know these documents were not being taken care of in the manner they should have, now we have to worry about who has them, who's seen them, whose hands are they in now, whether it's the actual document or a copy. That's where we're at. That's what we have to deal with. Sad day, y'all. Sad state of affairs. But I know someone like Hillary Clinton or anybody that was running against him at the time would tell you, at this point, they won't want to come out and say it, which they may. I told you. We tried to tell you. We warned you. You didn't want to listen. But this is the same person that went on this tirade all of 2016 saying how unworthy and how untrustworthy Hillary Clinton was with classified documents. And he turns around after the fact and tries to keep documents, and did keep documents, that he was not authorized to have. I won't say karma. I'll just say the irony of it all. The irony, excuse me, the irony of it all. Why? I don't get it. Let's transition. The Supreme Court Oh, the Supreme Court. They did something good this week. Some of them did. So this week, dealing with voting rights, the Supreme Court ruled that Alabama's congressional maps that were redrawn after the 2020 census violated Section 2 of the Landmark Voting Rights Act by diluting the influence of the state's black voters. It was a 5-4 decision in the Supreme Court. And you had John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh, who decided to go with what they call the liberal side. So they were the ones that swayed the vote. Clarence Thomas, of course, what we know to be true, dissented and wrote this scathing dissent. Now, I didn't even print it out because it's not even worth listening to and hearing what he had to say about it. P. Mac, what's up, my brother? So the Supreme Court decided that Alabama needs to go back and redraw their gerrymandering lines that they put in. That when they did this, and I read this, but I want you guys to hear this. The 5-4 decision, which effectively strikes down Alabama's GOP drawn election map as illegal, came as a surprise to most court watchers after a series of rulings in recent years sharply rolled back protections against race discrimination under the law. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, affirmed a lower court ruling that found the existence of only a single majority black congressional district denied roughly a quarter of the state's electorate in equal opportunities to select political candidates for their choosing. Excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied on that. Section 2, enacted in 1965 and later amended by Congress, says states cannot draw maps that, quote, result in a denial or abridgment of the right to vote on account of race or color. So what they did in Alabama, well, let me read this part first. We found Alabama's new approach to Section 2 compelling neither in theory nor in practice, Roberts wrote in an opinion. The decision means Alabama will have to redraw its election maps ahead of the next election, likely to include a second majority black district as mandated by a lower court. The new maps will likely mean greater minority representation in the U.S. House of Representatives from Alabama. Now, this is something we've been hearing about all over the United States, especially from about North Carolina, Virginia, down. Those southern states, the Confederate states, as they like to say. And what we've seen is they've redrawn these maps, and North Carolina should be next to try to fight this, going off of this precedent that's been set. But they've redrawn these lines, what they call gerrymandering, where they want to get more of a Republican population within a district so they can get a Republican voted in to sit in the House or the Senate, so forth, so on and so forth. But they've redrawn these maps over the last, it started back in about 2010, if I'm correct, where they started redrawing these district maps to kind of put a lesser amount of population of the black vote where it was congregated in one location and kind of cut down the middle to bring some of that vote to another side where your black constituents in these certain areas were electing Democrats and African-American black officials, and they didn't like that. So down in Alabama, this is what the story was, and the Supreme Court, because all these other places, they've been doing it, it hasn't gotten to the Supreme Court to be fought against. But this one in Alabama was taken to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court voted 5-4 that they need to go back and change what they've been doing. My question to this would be, is this going to be a set precedent for the states to go ahead and enact the fact that the gerrymandering has been going on and for them to redraw their district lines to take away what they did to go back to what it should be? In the same manner, watch this now, in the same manner that when the Supreme Court voted down Roe versus Wade, that all these states jumped in and made abortion illegal. Just a question. I don't know the answer, but they've set a precedent now that this gerrymandering that they've been doing for years and years and years is finally being brought to a head to say, wait a minute, can't do that. And then they took it to the Supreme Court because at the state level, they said, no, we can do it. Oh, no, let's find out what Supreme Court's ruling is by a 5-4 vote. 5-4. 5-4 vote. Voting rights are being attacked every day. You got people posting things about the last election was stolen. They're still talking about the last election was stolen. They're talking about when you go to the polls, you should have to show this, and this. They're saying that there shouldn't be any mail-in ballots and all these different things they want to talk about. But when we talk about voting rights, they're whittling away at your rights to vote in the manner that is acceptable. If they give you the opportunity to mail in vote, what is the issue with that? Because not only are you given the opportunity, obviously it's an opportunity for everybody within that district or state to be able to do it the same way. What is the issue with that? The only problem I have is this. If you're going to offer people a way to vote that is outside of the norm of being able to go in and put it in the system and all this kind of stuff, it's offered to everybody. But if you decide to do mail-in and you offer to everybody, no harm, no foul. But there's people out here that feel, because you got to remember now, mail-in voting didn't become an issue in most of these United States of America until the pandemic. Once the pandemic came and a lot of other states started integrating that into their voting process, now it's an issue. But there's no issue with the way they're redistricting the lines to take away the minority vote in certain areas and making that vote non-existent because of the way they redistrict the lines and who they're voting for and who they have the potential to vote for. So you're mad about the way that you can vote, but you're not mad about the way they're taking away the right to vote. Let's just put it in simple terms. James Battle, hopefully it will set precedent. A quarter of the population in Alabama is black, but the representation is nowhere close to that. Exactly. And in Alabama and Mississippi, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading this one time on one of the shows, Mississippi has never in its existence had an African-American black politician voted into office. Ever. Come on. Mississippi and Alabama have the largest African-American black representation of any of the states in the United States of America. And they've never, not one time, had any type of representation at the level for politics. Think about that. How does that happen? How? James Battle, mail-in voting was mostly used by white voters, but when it was opened up for everyone, it became a problem. I ain't want to say it. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from that this week. Trying to stay away from the black and white comparison because I don't use comparisons, I use facts. But however, it's relevant right now. Exactly. When you had people up in Wyoming and the outskirts of Wyoming doing mail-in voting, or Rhode Island and New Hampshire and all these different places, the outskirts where, you may get a sprinkle of us here and there doing it, it's okay. It's okay when you do it, but it's a problem when we do it. It's that simple. And a lot of people will take offense to the fact of us saying that, but the facts are the facts. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Thank you, Mr. Bow. But it's a true statement. That's why you'll hear me talking about this, and I'm getting ready to ramp up on this now. We have to start paying attention to these people who are running for elected office. We have to look at what is going to benefit you and your family. A lot of times what we don't look at is the masses. We only look at ourselves, but you have to take yourself into account as well. But you also have to take into the masses, because when you talk about you and your family, are you talking about immediate, or are you talking about everybody within your bloodline? Because everybody in your bloodline is not sitting at the same level financially. Yeah, let's be real. So if you decide that you want to go this way because of this, that may affect them negatively. But if you want to go this way because this affects you more, then you see what I'm saying? So all those things have to be taken into account. Now, you can't save everybody. Let's just be real. You can't save everybody. However, we got to be smart about the way we go about casting our vote and who we're putting in these positions to legislate for us. As it says in the We the people, for the people, by the people, all the people that they put in these, you read Declaration of Independence, the amendments, and all these different things. But you also had to remember 3/5 of a man. African Americans were 3/5 of a man, and it was only talking about the men, not the women. Women didn't have a right to vote. Women didn't have a right to participate in none of these things. We go through the history of that, but that's another time, another story, another time. Pay attention to what's going on with the Supreme Court when these cases go up there. I know a lot of us only pay attention to certain things, but anytime you hear something that the Supreme Court is hearing, that a case has been brought up to the Supreme Court level to make a ruling, a lot of times those rulings set precedent for something that can be going on in other states, or something that's going on in Alabama could be going on in Maryland. We don't look at the two as being similar because it's coming from two different pockets. But at the same time, if it gets to the Supreme Court, depending on how it's voted on and how it's ruled, could be a precedent for it to be changed in your state as well. You need to be paying attention to those things. And I'm not saying you got to be engrossed with it, but you have to have some type of knowledge of it, because the thing is this: what we don't know, we can't fight for. And we can't fight for what we don't know. It's that simple. Because we got a lot of people that want to put their head in the sand. You got a lot of people say, oh, that don't involve me, all these different things. Yeah. One way or another, it's going to involve you. Just like we had the debt ceiling having to be raised. There's a whole lot of people going to be affected if it didn't get raised. Social Security checks, Medicare, government paychecks, military paychecks. There's a lot of people going to be affected. There's a lot of people that stood on the ground talking about we shouldn't raise the debt ceiling. Well, you raised it every year. But it came down to the fact of people that were yelling, don't raise the debt ceiling, don't like Joe Biden, or the fact that they didn't look at the big scope of what it was going to affect, or because the tax raise, the amount of debt that Donald Trump put on the books in his 4 years outmatched any other president in 8 years. The highest debt increase of any president in the history of the United States. And because they're so blind to the fact that they like him, they had a problem with raising the debt ceiling. Not knowing the facts, not knowing the information, and not paying attention to how it was going to affect them or their parents. It may be on Social Security Medicare. None of the people in their family, they just said, I support him. But they never read. They never took the time to read and see exactly what would be affected if the debt ceiling wasn't raised. That's where we got to get better. And there's a lot of people that are just, they want to go by what everybody says rather than what they do. Do what you do. We had 2 senseless murders this week. And I'm going to say it like that: 2 senseless murders this week. One I'm going to tell you about. One I got a little bit of information on. I didn't go in depth because I just couldn't get past the fact of how it happened. But the first one is, and I think everybody heard about it, the woman in Florida, Susan Lawrence, shot through a door and killed a mother of 4. Shot through a door and killed a mother of 4. Not because the mother of 4 did anything wrong, but because the mother of 4 went to confront her about something that she did to her children. And with this being said, I mean, I'll tell everybody out there, and I want y'all to hear this clear. If you have a problem with somebody or anything like that, you don't know what the intent of the person that you may be confronting is, be careful. Be careful. Nobody expects to go to anybody's door. Like we had the story about the young man that went to the wrong address to pick his brother and sister up, and he went to the right number, wrong street, and he was shot through a doorway by a man who felt that he was threatened. Not because he did anything threatening. He just knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, whatever he did. But because he was a young black man, he decided, the white gentleman decided to shoot through the doorway. Luckily, he survived. But in this case, Miss I think I'm pronouncing it right, Ajike Owens, aka AJ, they called her AJ, was shot through the doorway senselessly. From what I've read, this woman that decided to shoot her through the door called the kids out of their names many times, called police on the kids many times for playing in a little area adjacent to where she lives that was public. And she called police complaining about them being there, complaining about them playing over there. They were too loud and all this. Cops came out, recognized, said that it wasn't a problem. It's not her property. They can play over there and so on and so forth. But it led up to the point of her doing something to one of Miss Owens's children and them telling her what happened, and Miss Owens going to confront this woman. And this woman took it upon herself, after what she did, to shoot through the door and kill this mother of four. Now, we only know what we know. We don't know. We only know from the investigation they said this has been ongoing. She's racist. She's called the kids names out of their names. Yet other people in the neighborhood said that there's been complaints about her. And the fact that they didn't tell you this, but I seen it in my reporting, is that she's about to be evicted from her home, from the home that she's in. So all these things they play a toll in decisions that we make. But at the end of the day, it's a senseless murder. Let's just call it what it is: a senseless murder at the hands of Miss Lorenz. She was going to jail. She's on $150,000 bond for a felony charge and another $4,000 for 4 misdemeanor counts. And she said she could only afford $1,700 worth of bond. She got $3,000 worth of furniture. So she went in all this about what she don't have. She don't have this, but she had a gun. She had a gun, but she ain't got no money. She ain't got no furniture. She ain't got nowhere to live, but she had a gun. And I'm going to ask this question again, rhetorically, as I always do. What makes us, when I say us, I'm talking about us as Blacks, African Americans, what makes us such a threat that you feel you got to shoot through a door? What makes us such a threat that you got to call cops on us anytime you feel, in spite of the fact that you may have done something wrong, that you're right? What is this mentality of we are a threat just by being who we are? The other senseless killing was at a graduation. A young man shot another young man and the stepfather of the young man over some type of altercation that happened. And they said they don't know if it happened at the graduation or it was leading up to the graduation or whatever. But the young man went to the car, came back, shot the stepfather, and shot the graduate. The other people were injured in this. But when do we get to a point where violence is our first act? When we don't agree with something, or something's not in our favor, or we don't feel comfortable with something. I didn't pull all the details on that one. And not that, I'm highlighting the black and white compared to the black and black. No, it's not that. I just couldn't fathom the fact of being at a graduation with my son, one of my sons, and him having an issue, or somebody having an issue with him, and they decide to come back and shoot me and him because I'm with him or I'm trying to protect him. I couldn't fathom that. So I didn't go in detail with that, but just a thought. And it's the same thing with the one shooting through the door. I just can't fathom the fact that I'm going to talk to somebody about something that they did and you shoot me through the door. James Battle, Fox News and right wingers make us a threat just by saying we are a threat. Yeah. Propaganda. The propaganda. I don't think I can honestly say in my life I've threatened anybody. I might be joking. I'm going to whoop your, that kind of thing. That's jokingly. But as far as being a threat to somebody, come on. Do I look like a threat? Do I really look like a Some people will say, yeah. That's why I laugh. Some people will say, yeah. Some people would say, yeah. That's where we are, y'all. That's where we are. Oh, sad state of affairs, y'all. Sad state of affairs when it comes to that. I mean, senseless murders. I don't get it. Sonny Davis, your actual skin color makes you a threat. Exactly. Good morning. Thanks for listening. Yeah, it's about the skin tone. Not who I am, but what I look like. That's all it takes for some folks. Let's get into this. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Year 2023. We're just trying to be who we are supposed to be, who we are, being a better you. That's what our main concentration is for 2023. Trying to get it right, being the best you that you can be. And today, this is something I've seen, and it's something very simple. And I want everybody to try this exercise. It's something I've seen on a show that I watch on YouTube called The Pivot. And The Pivot is a talk show, like just kind of like this YouTube show with Ryan Clark, former football player, Fred Taylor, former football player, and Channing Frye, all former football players that came together, and they have this show. They interview people and they talk about different things. But on this show, Ryan Clark received an Emmy for his work on ESPN because he works on ESPN as well. But in this, they were talking about some different things. But there was one part that jumped out at me, and Fred Taylor, Ryan Clark, they were giving him his flowers and everything. And then Ryan Clark said that he wanted to ask a question. And he started with Fred Taylor. And the question he asked, he said, I got 3 questions for you. And I want everybody to use this exercise, not only with yourself, but with the loved ones and the people you deal with. And the 3 questions he asked him were, are you good? Are you okay? And do you need anything from me? Are you good? Are you okay? And do you need anything from me? And from those 3 questions, Fred Taylor started breaking down. And he started breaking down for the simple fact that he had his grandmother who raised him, who he has the utmost love and respect for, has dementia. And with everything she's done for him at this point in her life, he can't express to her now how thankful he is for everything she's done for him. When I sat there and watched the episode, I went back and watched that specific part probably about 3 or 4 times just to get the understanding of where these questions can resonate with most of us. Are you good? When people say, are you good? Or somebody says, how you doing? I'm good. Are you good? How good are you really? Because see, some people think when somebody asks you, are you good? That's different than are you okay? Let's clear those 2 things up. Are you good? As well as being good, I would break it down in the fact of, are you good? Are you good? Are you, everything work, everything fine with you? Are you good as far as your everyday going on? Then we get into, are you okay? Being okay is completely different with being good. Being okay goes to the part of where it's okay, as I mentioned before, it's okay not to be okay as well. And I'll refer back to when the George Floyd murder happened. I was not okay. Seeing someone that looked like me murdered on the street for a simple fact of they assumed he was counterfeit money or anything like that. We won't rehash that, but I was not okay with that. I was not okay with the verbiage that went along. I was not okay with the fact that they dug up everything that this man did in his past to make it seem like his murder was justified. No, I'm not okay with that. See, that's the different dichotomy there. Being good is one level. Being okay is another. And then something we don't ask enough. Do you need anything from me? Do you need anything from me? Think about that for a minute. When is the last time someone asked you? When is the last time you asked someone, do you need anything from me? Because sometimes in life, and a lot of times in life, we think that everything we're doing is what needs to be done. We think everything that we're providing to someone, everything that we're doing for someone in our relationships and our families is everything that is needed because of what we think they need. but we never get to the point of asking the question, do you need anything from me? That could run a gamut of different things as far as I need more hugs. I need to hear you tell me how much you appreciate me. Think about that. Do you need anything from me? Because what we know to be true is life becomes routine. And in our routine of life, we go to work, we do a routine at work, we come home, we do a routine at home. Everything becomes standard, situational. But we never ask someone, do you need anything from me? You'll be surprised. You will be surprised if you ask somebody, do you need anything from me? Not in the sense of, do you need some money? You need me to carry that? No. Let's talk about mental health as we always talk about. Let's talk about just being there in the moment with me. Do you need anything from me? That conversation resonated with me that they had. And these were men, three men who had careers in football, who made a lot of money playing football, who are able to take care of their families, but they have a love for each other as men. And let's say as Black men, to be able to ask these questions and be open and honest. Most of us can't do that. Most of us are hesitant to do that. Most of us are scared to do that. Because a lot of times we don't ask those three questions because we really don't want to know. Let's just be, we don't want to know. Because when you ask somebody, are you good? That could go on a whole, and I'm gonna say this, if you get to the point, and I hope you do, to get with somebody and ask these three questions, prepare yourself. Because you may get answers that you're not prepared for. This person may have had something bubbling inside them that's so deep that you didn't know anything about. And when it comes out, it's that powder keg that we were talking about on male vulnerability. It's been suppressed for so long that when you ask this question, ooh, are you good? Are you okay? Do you need anything from me? If you want to go back and watch it, it's a long show. It's about an hour and a half or something like that. But if you want to go, it's later on in the show. It's called The Pivot. And it's the one where Clark receives the Emmy and they're doing I think it was a Memorial Day barbecue or something next. Go watch it. And I would say watch it from the beginning to get the context of what went on when he asked Fred Taylor that question. Because they were giving Ryan Clark his flowers about receiving the Emmy and how good a friend he is and all those type of things. So I would say listen to the whole thing. Go watch it. You ain't got nothing else to do. Go watch it. Are you good? Are you okay? Do you need anything from me? Matter of fact, I'm gonna do you a solid. I'm gonna post it on my page. So you can just click on there. You ain't got to search for it. I'll pull it up, put it on my Facebook page, on the RW Coolins page. Then you can just watch from there. Are you good? Are you okay? Do you need anything from me? PMAC, some say it, but don't mean it. Yeah, and that's why I said, if you ask the question, you better be prepared. You better be prepared. And don't just ask to ask. Ask because you're truly concerned about who that person that you're asking, that you want to know. Because you may find out, like they didn't know. They didn't know, and I don't want to give it all away, but when Fred Taylor got asked a question by Ryan Clark, and he started talking about his grandmother, and he mentioned grandma, and he got choked up, Channing Frye said, what's going on with grandma? Because he hadn't revealed what's going on. He hadn't revealed what's happening. He hadn't revealed how it's affecting him because he puts that mask on to come and function every day. He puts that mask on that we talked about to come and do what he needs to do and function throughout the day. Come on, y'all. Are you good? Are you okay? Do you need anything from me? That's it. Let's go ahead and wrap this up for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Look here. It's a sad state. It's a sad state of affairs right now in the United States of America with this indictment, 37 counts. We're going to see how it runs its course and everything. What I would say, be careful. Be careful in these streets because you have some people out here that don't agree with it, and some people are going to take matters in their own hands because they don't agree with it. You do your due diligence. Pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention where you're going. And don't get in conversation with people that you know are going to want to substantiate the fact that this is wrong because it can only go one way. You got some people that are so hip. Think about this. When they put their information out there, that false information saying the election was stolen, look what happened at the Capitol. That's all I'm going to say. Look what happened at the Capitol. Look how those people reacted. That's all you need to say. So Dave, stay safe and be blessed. You do the same. You do the same. All right. See y'all next week. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, do what you do. And I'll post that video on my page later on today. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'll holler at y'all next week. I'll see y'all, and I'm out. Peace.